Hi, all. We're going to get started here pretty soon. Welcome. My name is Marco Perez, by the way, and I'm the tech guy for today's activities. But there's a full house going on, and we'll get started here shortly. But I just want to let you know that we are here, and there will be an event live online. All right. Thank you.
All right, hello. We're going to get started. If you're downstairs, we want to welcome you to come upstairs. I think we're going to get going here. Hello. There we go. We're going to get started here, and I just want to first thank you guys for coming. We're blessed to have you and couldn't do this work without you. And so thank you for joining us today. This is, again, our Education for Life event that's associated with our 40th year anniversary. It's amazing to think that the ministry's been here for 40 years, and it's so exciting to have all of you here joining us today. Wanted to also just thank the staff, how amazing today and all the facility looks. The booth downstairs, they've done an amazing job setting it up, so I want to thank them for all of the hard work that they put into today. And then I wanted to just kind of enter into welcoming you through sharing a little bit of my story as it relates to education and kind of my journey here with Neighborhood Ministries. And so I wanted to start by telling you that I grew up in a family that had, my parents were amazing and loved me dearly, but I struggled in school a whole lot. But my parents always considered me to be very special, and the special that they talked about for me was one that gave me hope, and it was a belief in me that allowed me to continue on in my journey. In third grade, we moved. We moved from kind of a little house in Tempe to a big house in Paradise Valley. And in that transition, I changed schools. And that was, as a child, that was a really nervous thing, because now I'm having to make new friends and stuff. And in that process, I had to get tested again to figure out which class I was going to go into. And I tested into the highest reading class in third grade, and we went in for the first day, and the teacher had made this big, amazing, entryway where you went through this little tunnel into the class. And she started reading a book, and it was just this amazing kind of wonderland for me. And every day we'd go to reading, I would get to enter into this imaginative world, and it was so exciting to me. I had this huge imagination, and so I loved it. It was amazing. And then about the second weekend, it shifted, and all of a sudden, everybody had to read. And for me, it was like, oh gosh. But I had learned actually by that time, early on in third grade, that I could figure out patterns. And so I figured the pattern out, figured out, okay, which page was what. This was my little section. I'd read it over and over and over, kind of memorize it. And then it'd come to my turn, and I would say my piece. I was like, whew, and then I could get back to engaging in the story. And after about a week of that, we were doing the same thing. I found my spot. And then 2 people before she changed the pattern. And all of a sudden, I was next. And I remember it came to me, and I started stumbling through everything, and kind of got to a point where everybody kind of started laughing. And the teacher stepped in and saved me, because she was like, oh my gosh, this is a disaster. And said, okay, well, let's go on to the next person. And the very next day, I ended up being called special again. Though this special was a lot different than the special my mom and dad called me. This wasn't the special you really wanted to be. This wasn't the special you'd wish on your worst enemy. This was the special of going to the classroom that no one else went to, and everybody else was wondering, what in the world's behind that door? I got to experience that, and so that was kind of my journey through school then, pretty much the rest of my life, all the way even through college. But it was the faith and the belief that my parents had in me that allowed me to keep going and learning how to do things, learning how to overcome obstacles, learning how to figure out school. And so I went on to graduate from ASU, which was a big accomplishment. But in that process, I didn't learn what kids typically learn in school. I didn't succeed because I got really good grades on my finals. I learned how to pass school because I learned the system and how education worked. And it was out of that I learned how to overcome obstacles. I learned how important it was to have others believe in me. I learned how much hope I had when I had a support network behind me. When others believed, I got hope that I could succeed and I could continue on. And I think that's the thing that I believe in here as it relates to the work that we do around education. There's lots of research around mentoring and the importance of somebody who believes, an adult who believes in somebody else, and how important that can be in a child's success, in overcoming adversity and continuing in their education. So I learned that it's about the belief that others had that gave me hope. And so as we gather today, you're going to hear different stories, and I'd like for you to listen for the belief that people had in people, and the hope that those receiving that were able to overcome extreme obstacles and amazing talents, and their talents and gifts were able to grow out of that. And so I want to open us up in prayer real quick. Dear Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to stand here, to be here together, for those to be able to join us online. We pray that you would give us ears to hear, compassion to enter into the stories of others, and the hope to see a future where we come together and accomplish amazing things. And so we thank you. We thank you for being here with us, and we thank you for all that have gathered here today. In Jesus' name, amen. So I'm going to welcome Kit up.
Thank you, Jeremy. I always love hearing Jeremy's story. Sometimes he always scatters a few things in there, like I never heard about the tunnel before. So that's my first time with the tunnel. Well, so happy you're here. This 40th anniversary event is the second of 3 smaller events with a big event coming in December, so please come back. This one, of course, as you are experiencing, is about our journey with education and telling that story for the last 40 years. So I want to remind you that the timeline or the history of education for life is in your little program, and I'm just going to spend a little bit of time and walk through that with you because there's so many important stories and important lives that are embedded in this 40-year journey. So for context, I want to remind us that in 1987, we began outreach programs for kids and youth, which we call Kids Club and Kids Life today. And I think what's really important to know is that we fell in love with those kids, that first 40. Their realities formed our education programs from the beginning. What we learned almost immediately was that the children in our programs and community were struggling in school. There were all kinds of reasons for this: unstable neighborhoods, community violence, unaffordable housing, poor employment opportunities for the parents, and the schools, which hadn't learned to specialize and innovate for their trauma-laden students. Most of the kids in our community and in our programs in those days were dropping out of school between the 5th and the 8th grades, leading to alternative and dangerous lifestyles, gang affiliation, teen pregnancies, death, and prison. A lot of you were around with us in those days, and so you remember clearly how heartbreaking it was. It was obvious to us that staying in school could be preventive to these self-destructive paths, but also we were learning that staying in school was really difficult for most. These 2 truths informed our attempts at creating programming interventions. And so now I'm going to do some highlighting of this timeline. In 1991, hardworking and sacrificial volunteers began after-school tutoring, eventually growing a program called Life Shop. with all kinds of resources. We added a sort of counseling component to this because we knew how much suffering existed in our kids' homes. It was very, very basic, but as I look back on it now, you can see all of those trauma-informed threads that we're working with now. In 1994, Partners in Learning took after-school tutoring directly to the students' schools. We went on campus with mentors and tutors and sat in classrooms with our kids. Panda, I don't know if you remember those days. I think Nadine does. In 1998, the program called I Can Do It took mentoring to the next level, building mentoring groups, adding sophisticated incentives for grades and other academic accomplishments, and broadened the students' lives with fantastic trips to places like New York or the cornfields of Indianapolis. Right, Nikki? There was also an annual skiing trip in Telluride, which Nikki can tell you all about what that was like, getting our kids on skis or not. That program flourished for more than a decade. In 1999, we began the first set of holistic intervention programs for our young people, like Mom's Place, which began to provide comprehensive support services for our teen moms. The following year, volunteers came alongside these young moms, preschoolers, and began to pull together a preschool, literally out of their car trunks. Once a week, they drive to each home, wake up the household, get the child dressed and out the door, and out of the cars came the toys, the teaching tools, the carpets, and the snacks. I think you even brushed their teeth, and the children. This volunteer-led preschool caused us to want more. We began to pray and seek the Lord for a permanent preschool. This morning, I'd like to honor Isla Alexander and bring her up here. Isla was that volunteer with the trunk.
A big trunk.
Yeah, and every week she began to envision for us what now we call Katie's Kids, our permanent preschool. And so, Isla, I'm going to give you this with great appreciation for your role as Katie's Kids. Oh, I'm going to cry this whole morning. Preschool founder. In 2002, the dream for a permanent preschool began on our campus, a full partnership with Head Start and Neighborhood Ministries. Though Head Start understands partnerships today, the way we wanted to embed our own people and our own teachers and core values into that classroom surprised them. What sold them on the idea was the deep and invested relationships we had with the moms and their children. They would eventually celebrate this model. Our first two teachers were Katie Reel and Erica Martinez. Is Erica upstairs? She might be downstairs. Both of whom had been with Neighborhood for a few years as mentors, interns, and volunteers, and I hope you all made sure to pick up your copy, because our gift to you for this event is the story of Katie Reel. And you can see that it was right, those books were right there. So if you didn't get your copy, please make sure you take it home and enjoy and weep and take in this incredible story of this young woman who was with us until she passed with her brain cancer. She was an incredible investment, and her story about those early days of the preschool are in there. Well, something remarkable was happening in the early 2000s. We finally had high school graduates. Most of you have seen the photographs of these graduates on the wall in the auditorium, and we started putting those pictures up because we couldn't believe we had finally come to that day. For over a decade, we longed to just have one youth graduate from high school. And in the early 2000s, there was one, then there was two, and then there was a few more, and so on. And today, it is the most ordinary thing to have kids graduating from high school, and we don't ever want to forget the days when that one was a miracle, because each one is still a miracle to us. But the miracles kept coming. You see, our young people were now dreaming of college. It was 2007. We were in this giant room, the Phoenix Convention Center, celebrating our 25th anniversary. It was the first and only gala we've ever had. The Board of Neighborhood Ministries wanted to honor Wayne and I with a gift. It would be the launch of the Wayne and Kit Danley Scholarship. As Rick said that night, instead of giving us a car, because he knew we would just sell it. So you've heard this story often. It's so sweet and it has a lot of funny parts. But this scholarship was providential because it was coming at this perfect time. Why did we know it was a perfect time? Because when the evening was over, there was a line formed right after my table of these young people saying, I was dreaming that impossible dream. I had no hope that I could ever go to college, but now I know I can. And many years later, we have all kinds of graduates from that scholarship. The other providential part was that the scholarship connected us to our friends Skip, Lori, and Russ, who have since 2008 met with us as a team to plan, to structure, and to fund what is now a robust college scholarship program here at Neighborhood. I hope you've had a chance to talk to a few of our college students or college graduates, and they've been in these beautiful maroon shirts, and you're going to hear from one in just a little bit. But now I want to honor the role in the scholarship that Skip, Lori, and Russ have played, and I'd like to bring them up as founders of the Wayne and Kit Danley Scholarship. They're going to speak in just a little bit, so this is just a chance for you to see them. And so congratulations and thank you so much for being the founder. We're going to call you the founders. Do you like that?
I love that.
The founders of this scholarship.
And Kit Danley is the inspiration.
All right.
Can you sit down?
You can sit down. In 2010, Head Start stopped funding our standalone preschool. They just we didn't fit in their niches anymore. But they had gotten us started, and we would never be the same. We were convinced that the role of early childhood education was critical to breaking the cycle of poverty. Those years with Head Start taught us how to form classrooms around brain development, social emotional development, birth trauma-informed learning, and institutionalized what was always here for our families, that love, that commitment to loving unconditionally. So we couldn't let this progress stop here, and so in faith and through much prayer, we stepped into the risky business of self-funding early childhood classrooms at Neighborhood. Katie's kids, classrooms built upon the legacy of Katie Reel, were born in that season with Jessica Wood as our first director. Over the years, and you'll be hearing that story in just a little bit, over the years, most of our Katie's Kids teachers have come from our very own community. Then in 2015, we captured the dreams we had been holding for years to house our education focus in one building here on our campus. One day I was walking around this property with our architect friend, Brad Nelson, and I was describing this dream. And we stepped into this old silo building. It was old and decrepit in those days, a remnant of the days when this property was in the grain business. And he said, "This should be your education building." I've always said that it was the artist in him that could see that this building could become this beautiful place. And it did. In fact, this silo education building, after it was completed, won a prestigious award in 2018 called the Red Awards that establishes, different criteria for all of this renovation and so forth, and we were so proud. So I'd like to bring up George Malara from the Nelson Partners. He's back there. who represents Nelson Partners for us today and this amazing partnership we've had in this story.
Thank you so much.
So this plaque basically reminds Nelson and Neighborhood Ministries together that they've been on this long journey with us, and for many years prior to this building, for a fact, but it was this project that stirred the hearts of Nelson and you, George, and Linnea and the others. And so thank you so much for all the partnership we've had, and this says celebrating 40 years together. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. So in 2017, Katie's kids in the Sueños Youth Center moved into this renovated silo building. The funding, the construction, and the life we're living in this education building have been and continue to be miraculous, which I hope as you've followed this story over all these years, you've heard. And we want to say to God be the glory. This is a miracle that only the hands of God could do. So let me close this way. The children and youth in our community deserve to have an early, intentional, brain-infused, life-giving education. They deserve to stay in schools that are ready to invest in them, to educate them, to create the spaces where they can imagine and grow into who they've been designed by God to be. They deserve schools that flourish, to get them ready for a future, which for many of us now realize include college and even graduate school. So I want to thank you. I want to thank you for being on this journey with us. Many of you have been participating in so many elements since that very beginning, that early, very humble beginning in 1990, all the way to today, where we have so much rich diversity represented. And as you said, Jana, you know, it's the future. It's the future. We're investing in the future of Phoenix. We're investing in the future of Arizona and even our country. So God bless you. And I want to invite now, Juan.
I think before Juan comes up, we have one last award that we want to give out, or one more award. It's a surprise award. And so as you're hearing about education, you know, this value of education is one of our core values here. And as you know, Kit's our founder and has continued in that process all the way up and continues today. But a few years ago, she finished her doctoral degree. And in that process, she wrote her dissertation. And today, on behalf of all of the staff here, we have published Kit's dissertation. And want to give her the first copy. It's also been translated and published in English and Spanish. So.
Wow. All right, wow. Wow, I don't know what to say. You should see the former, I've been giving everyone this book for the last almost 10 years. It's just a big notebook full of 300 pages. Wow, that's amazing. So grateful. All right, so Juan, I want you to hear from one of our current scholarship recipients, Juan Cisneros. His story is quite powerful. We heard it for the first time, many of us the other night, when we were celebrating both the alumni of the scholarship as well as our current students. Juan, come on up here. We want to hear from you.
Hi, my name is Juan Cisneros. I study computer science at Benedictine University. It's a small Catholic university in Mesa. I was born in Nogales, Mexico, so right across the border. And I was born with a birth defect. My chest was actually concaved. And it was very difficult for me all throughout growing up until my 7th birthday, where my mom said, "Get everything that you have, let's go, we're leaving." And I didn't know where we were leaving. Turns out we were coming here. We had an aunt that lived here, and we came and visited her and stayed. And my mom eventually told me why we came here. She was running away from violence from my dad, and she also wanted to provide me a better medical experience that Mexico just couldn't provide. So I started growing here. I went to elementary school, high school, and everything, and it was all fine. I really enjoyed the education. All throughout elementary, I had straight A's. I did really well. Until 8th grade, when we did our promotion ceremony, I remember having it, and then right after, a mother of a classmate of mine came up to me and asked me, why are you trying so hard? Why are you always going for A's when you're undocumented? You're not going to be able to go to college. You're not going to be able to go get a job. You're not going to be able to achieve anything that you want to do. And that stayed with me for a while. It stayed with me for a couple years. It built up into a high school where I stopped really focusing on grades. I just dropped my GPA because I couldn't care. I realized that she was right? And it all became into a culmination in my sophomore year when I thought, she's right. I'm not going to be able to achieve anything I want to do. And I went to the tallest building that I could have access to, and I went to the ledge and I looked down and I thought, I might jump. I just should jump. And it was difficult for me. I thought of my family in Mexico, what my mom gave up to bring me here for medical and for a better life. And I thought about it for a few seconds, and in those brief seconds, another classmate of mine came up, and he was undocumented as well. And he talked to me, and he asked me, why are you having such a hard time? Yes, you're undocumented, but that doesn't mean you give up. That means you work through it. And I got down from the ledge, and I talked to him more, and he helped me out. And I just worked through it. And throughout those years in high school that I had left, I tried my best to bring up my GPA, to do the best I could do. So I started volunteering with a nonprofit that did education for undocumented students and trying to help them get into higher education. They ended up helping me a lot as well. They helped me out with like applying to scholarships. They helped me out with getting into the university I'm in right now. But I worked through them for multiple years, and just last year we were able to push a bill through the state legislature, so it's now going to be in November. But it was difficult trying to work through all those issues and help other students that were in the same spot as I was and tell them, it's okay, you can work through it, we'll help you work through it. So then it came up to a couple months back when I was introduced to the Winning Kid Scholarship. I wasn't too sure what to expect, and I actually thought it was going to be difficult. I applied, I got the scholarship, and I started volunteering in the tech room because I wanted to teach other people about technology. I wanted to give people hope of what they could do so that they couldn't get lost. They could continue their education for what they could do. And I've been doing that since I first got my scholarship here, and I've been really enjoying it. It's probably the best time I've had actually helping others. Like, I've been in meetings with politicians. I've been in meetings with social media, the state secretary of education, and nothing has felt as good as helping out those students learn new tools and better themselves. Thank you.
So now we're going to hear from two members of our team as it relates to early childhood development. We're going to hear from Kathy and Panda. Are we going to see the video first? Okay, you're going to hear from Kathy, one of our Katie's Kids teachers, on her video clip here.
Good morning. My name is Catalina Vasquez, better known as Teacher Cat. I have been employed as a teacher at Katie's Kids for the last 5 years. However, I have been a part of neighborhoods since the age of 5. I was one of those children who counted the days, weeks, and even months for Kids Club to come. This place became my second home, as it has for many others in our community. I am here today with great pleasure to share my love for working with children and their families, to help you understand the work that we do in our program, and lastly, to celebrate the seeds that we as educators are planting for the lifelong success of our children and their community. At a very young age, I knew that I would pursue a degree in education. Good morning, my name is Catalina Vasquez, better known as Teacher Cat. I have been employed as a teacher at Katie's Kids for the last 5 years. However, I have been a part of neighborhood since the age of 5. I was one of those children who counted the days, weeks, and even months for Kids Club to come. This place became my second home, as it has for many others in our community. I am here today with great pleasure to share my love for working with children and their families, to help you understand the work that we do in our program, and lastly, to celebrate the seeds that we as educators are planting for the lifelong success of our children and their community. At a very young age, I knew that I would pursue a degree in education. In 2015, I graduated from Phoenix College with my associate's degree. Since then, I have been fortunate to grow and learn from other educators who, like me, love the messy and loud classrooms. Working with children 3 to 5 years old has to be the most rewarding gifts of all. I have the privilege to come to work and play with my children, all while helping them grow in social, emotional, cognitive, language, and physical development. As an educator here at Katie's Kids, we work to enhance the learning of all of our children by establishing a strong learning foundation. Our program is built on love, grace, and relationships. We help create a safe and nurturing environment where all of our children are learners. Our classrooms are designed and arranged with interest centers where children spend the majority of time in free choice play. Our goal and focus in the classroom is to create lessons that meet the different needs of our children by providing meaningful adult and child-guided experiences. This year, I was able to see firsthand the impact of COVID in our classroom environment. I had a great number of children who came through my doors struggling with emotional, social, and language skills. At first, I remember thinking, how am I supposed to do this? To be frankly honest, I cried a lot and I seek God daily. I knew I had to trust in Him and have faith in myself and my children. I am here today with a full heart because the relationships and connections we formed with our students made it all worth it. Just 2 weeks ago, I had a child share how she didn't want to leave preschool because she didn't want to change schools. I know for a fact that this child, along many others, will succeed in the next chapter. I know that they will step into kindergarten as competent learners with confidence and the ability to problem solve. I am beyond fortunate to share and witness the growth that occurs within our children here at Katie's Kids. There is no greater joy than to see the impact that early education makes in the lives of our students. Our children moving on to kindergarten are taking with them an understanding of letters, sounds, adding, subtracting, and most importantly, the skills needed to form relationships and express themselves through verbal and communication skills. On behalf of our community, I thank you for your contribution to making this a place where our children get to grow socially, emotionally, and academically. Thank you.
Okay, now you're going to hear from Teacher Panda.
I'm so nervous. Let me get that out the way. Okay, hello. As you know, my name is, oh, the mic, yes. Okay, here we go. Okay, as you know, my name is Panda. Can you see the resemblance? My name is actually Estefana Corral, but not many know it here. Many relatives don't even know my real name. I was asked if I wanted to share about Katie's Kids and education for life. I'll try my best to do both in 5 minutes. I am honored to be here and share my experiences with you all. I'll start by giving you a little bit of my background. I was born and raised in Arizona. I grew up at Neighborhood Ministries from the age of 7. I am now as old as Neighborhood Ministries. I have 4 beautiful children, Omar, 23, Jackie, 22, Leslie, 17, and Raimundo, 9. And I have a huge extended family. Most attended Neighborhood Ministries as well. Look at the book. You'll see some familiar faces, are similar to me. Coming from a dysfunctional family, where drugs, alcohol, abuse, neglect, and poverty were the norm. As a child, I had no hopes or dreams for the future. Fast forward to the age of 13, I had just been promoted to the 8th grade. I was a junior high leader at Kids Club for the kindergarten class. A little girl named Juanita tugged at my shirt and said, "Teacher Panda." I didn't know it then, but those two little words planted a tiny seed of hope in me. A 5-year-old planted hope in me. Profound, right? Just wait, it gets better. High school lasted about 3 months, give or take. That's a whole nother conversation. Fast forward to 17-year-old pregnant Panda. Another child unknowingly watered that seed of hope again. I was inspired to get my GED for my little guy, but it didn't quite go as planned. I tested at a 3rd grade level. I had never stayed at a school long enough to learn. Did you know that it takes a child 3 months to fully adjust to a new school? During that time, they are not learning to their full capacity. Whew. I attended at least 15 different schools by the age of 17. I had multiple learning delays. I noticed other students completed their work twice as fast as I did. Teachers were getting frustrated because they lacked the knowledge on how to teach me. And of course, being a pregnant high schooler filled with insecurities who had no voice, I gave up and accepted that 8th grade was as good as it gets. Fast forward to 23-year-old Panda. Neighborhood opens its own GED program. I volunteered as the daycare worker for the young mothers who attended the program. More water was added. A year later, it was my mentor's mom's birthday, which I also met at Neighborhood Ministries Mom's Place. She was consistent in my life and my children's life. She believed in me and accepted me. I finally had a mother figure I trusted and knew wasn't going to give up on me, and I wanted to make her proud. So I enrolled in the GED program at Rio Salado and received my diploma, which, by the way, was self-led. The seed started to sprout. By the way, she is right there, and her name is Isla Alexander, which is also an English teacher, so thanks to her, my speech is pretty well. A year later, it was my, but again, terrified to attend college, the sprout started to wither, until one day I received a call from Jeremy, asking if I was interested in working as a teacher assistant at Katie's Kids. I laughed and thought he was crazy. I wasn't smart enough, I wasn't good enough, I was afraid, so I declined. But days later, I started to think of my kids as preschool teachers, Katie, Erica, Lenny, and the love and care they gave to my children. After a couple of phone calls from Jeremy, I eventually accepted. It was similar to Kids Club, but I got paid. Katie's Kids inspired me to do more. I wanted to be the best teacher for my students. I noticed I lacked a lot of knowledge, especially regarding challenging behaviors. We all have that one student that will either make or break you. I needed to know how to help, so I reached out to Lisa Brownlee, who helped me enroll into Phoenix Community College. My first college class was supporting challenging behaviors in a classroom. Go figure. Everything I learned, I took right into the classroom. A STEM emerged. After I worked at Neighborhood's Early Head Start, later on I worked at Neighborhood's Early Head Start, is where I witnessed firsthand just how vital those first few years of life are. Have you ever heard a 2-year-old tell another 2-year-old, "I need my space"? Social emotional skills at its finest. I still use that one with my husband. These years are crucial. After 2 years in the classroom, I became the home-based teacher and parent educator. I had the privilege of sharing all my knowledge with parents by assessing, modeling, goal setting, and most importantly, helping parents understand that they are their first and most predominant teacher for their child. A lot more sun, a lot more water added. It leads to my current position at Nueva Esperanza, where I work with school-age children. Again, a whole new learning experience. I wear many hats here, but I am mostly the virtual teacher and parent trainer. Of course, this is a fraction of my story and educational growth. There were many others who made their print on me. Let's just say I accepted that healing from childhood trauma would take a lifetime. God was working in me, preparing me for his greatness, and if it wasn't for Neighborhood Ministries, I wouldn't be the wildflower I am today. I may not have had a great start, but I am living it through my students.
I'm going to bring up Lenny, who is the Katie's Kids director. Lenny Reel.
Try to get through this. All right, so I have a couple of quotes from the Katie story. All right. A long-time volunteer with young children observed, working with Katie, I have seen a remarkable love produced by the maker of love. Katie didn't just have faith or get faith, she lived faith. From the moment I met her, I realized she was a gift we needed for the kids and the moms, actually the families of all involved in the program. Another neighborhood staff member said, Katie in the classroom was kingdom work and the gospel lived out. Katie, as a preschool teacher, intrinsically lived the mission of Neighborhood Center. She lived in her natural self, daily life, also exemplified this mission. So when we started planning this event, they told me that we were going to have a Katie Reel Award. So we started to think of who embodied these characteristics that Katie had about loving these children and teaching them. And two people came to mind, and you just heard from both of them. I tricked them into doing that, so they have no idea that, so I didn't have to speak so much about them because I knew I wouldn't even be able to make it through that. But the first one, Estefana, we are awarding you the Katie Reel Award. I first met her when she was a parent and have seen her grow as a teacher. And here you go. Second one is Catalina Vasquez. She was first an intern with Katie's Kids, and now she is our lead teacher in the classroom.
All right, in your, thank you, Lenny. Thank you, Panda. Thank you, Kathy. Thank you for your dedication. Thank you, Katie. You know, this is really a birth to grave kind of an event, not really grave, but early childhood to college. And so we have something very exciting that we wanted to announce. And it has to do with the first ever endowment process that Neighborhood Ministries has ever gone through. And our friends Skip and Lori felt compelled to actually want to take their dedication to the scholarship to the next level. And the information's in your book, or in your pamphlet. This is a beautiful inauguration, and we're using this event to tell you about it. So Skip and Lori, can you come on up and talk to us about what's happening with this launch of this new endowment?
Part of our marriage agreement is that Skip does the talking.
Are you sure? Yeah. I'd like to reflect back to a lot of comments here, and starting with Jeremy, about the importance of believing in people. And, excuse me, recently we were discussing, well, if we really believe in people, and if we believe in the neighborhood ministries, we believe in Kit and Wayne Danley, and we believe in the kids here, let's make sure that this belief will not only translate for today, but also perpetual into the future. So Lori and I, and mainly the New Opportunities Foundation, which is more than just Lori and I, have decided to give a kind of a challenge gift so that all of you can also indicate your belief in this situation that's going on here. So the New Opportunities Foundation has contributed $500,000 to the scholarship, and yeah. Here's the catch, is it's a match, which is where all of you come in, and I'm sure lots of other fundraising too, but if we're successful in matching, and 500,000 plus 500,000 is $1 million, believe it or not. And we have talked with some financial advisors, and what it means to become perpetual is that $1 million stays in a bank account, and just the interest off of it is enough to fund the scholarships that go on. So it goes on forever.
Thank you for your amazing generosity, and thank you for the vision that you've just laid in front of us, Skip and Lori, for the hope that in perpetuity we will be able to send kids to college, particularly those young people like the ones we've been sending to college for all these years who didn't have another vehicle. And where's Juan? Thank you, Juan, for reminding us that there's hope, that the young people among us need to and still must hope, and this scholarship is evidence of that. Thank you so much, Skip and Lori. Okay, so I think we're going to close up with you, Bill. Thank you.
Wow. Gee, I'm following a doctor. Well done. Oh, man. Gee, I have the easy part and it's hard. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all who are representations of this idea of the scholarship. Of you, the ones that went to school and had to go through very difficult times to graduate from high school, college, some of you grad school. And that's really hard to do. It's really hard to do when you've got a lot of resources. It's harder to do when you're just getting scholarships, and that doesn't mean everything, and there's other needs, and anyway, way to go for all of you, and way to go for the some of you that are still thinking about it. There's a lot of hope. This is really hopeful. It's really fun to be here. It's really amazing. Every time I'm here, it blows my mind looking around the room. The stories in this room are holy, and it's good, and God is good. So here's the grand finale. This piece of paper that you have, there's a couple of ways. We want you to give, and we want you to tell your friends to give. This is an easy way. You can fill this thing out. You can write it in numbers, and it's really self-explanatory. There's another way for all you techie folks. There's a QR code right here. You know what that is? I don't, but the rest of you understand this. Scan that. If it takes you somewhere, it's not a menu. It's deeper than that. It gets inside the neighborhood. When you do that, there's going to be options in there. There's options to give. There's one called General Fund, and that's just give money to the General Fund for neighborhood ministries. We're always in need. That's a really great thing to do. There's another one called Special Campaigns. That's where these two things we're talking about today are in. So if you scan that, go to Special Campaigns. You can go to Katie's Kids and give directly to Katie's Kids. That's fabulous. We need money to continue to do that. You can go to the Wayne and Kit Danley Foundation and give there, and understand this, that remarkable $500,000 gift, you can give to that, and it's dollar for dollar matching. So you can give, it's a dollar for dollar matching gift of $500,000. Like, that's a pretty amazing thing, that if a bunch of us get together and give some funds, it turns into $1 million, $1 million. And when it's $1 million, like you just heard Skip say, for the rest of eternity, the interest off of that will pay for kids to go to college, like forever. Like, that's a long time. Something we never dreamed of ever, that would be a possibility. We were always trying to get $50,000, $60,000, send 4 more kids. And so I would just ask you to think about how to be really generous in this moment, because the dollar for dollar match on something like this is life-changing. And we're just to be prayerful, think about, maybe this is our turn to really get after it and do something fantastic big, and that would be big. So those are 2 ways to give, and it'll change more kids' lives, and I can't say that enough, that changes kids' lives. Education's a big, big deal, and when you don't have it, you don't have a lot. And so thank you for being part of this. For those of you that already give, bless you for doing that. We really appreciate it. For all the future kids, yeah. For the kids who have no idea right now that they're going to go to college, that's cool. I'm going to pray for them too. So thank you. Meaningful time. Give some money now, because, boy, it's going to make a gigantic difference. I'm going to pray. I'm grateful that you're here. Thanks, Lord, for this great creation, this great place, for love and joy and peace, the things that only come from you. Thank you that those things shine in even to broken families. Your voice is loud and clear all over the place, in all the families that are represented here. Help us to listen, hear that voice. Thanks for the gift of generosity from many people in this place. Thanks for your love, and I pray that you put your arms around this mission. Amen. Thanks, you guys. Eat the food. There's plenty of it. Take it home with you. Do whatever.
Okay, you all. For those on the live stream, thank you so much for attending. There, you can use any donate button on the page, but the donate button that we'd prefer to use is at the bottom of the page. If that's not what was used, that's fine. But thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions or comments, then you can email us at development@nmphx.com. We'd love to talk to you. We'd love to hear how this event went. Thanks so much for your time.